Welcome back, folks. How you doing today? We got an exciting little series here, mini series, repetitive series, whatever you call it. What's up, Walt? How you been, man?
Good, man. Good, good. As everybody sees, we have the new backdrop going.
Just a
Check it
little,
out.
yes, we're
Stuff
excited.
Hey, good, man. I'm good. How about you, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm so excited about this episode. But you said it like there was a point where we hit this groove where we were like recording every other day, and it had us in a different place. And then summer came, things came, we took a little break, not from
Mhm.
the regular weekly. We still do the one a week, but there was some increased recording. So we were just talking about how much fun that was, a different place that was. I was like, yes, I mean, this is gonna this recording here starts a reboot of that, a restart of that frequency and pumping out, and we're getting ready and we're rebranded. Shout out to Brian at Bigger Creative
Yeah,
or
right.
for just helping us bring this journey together and this
Instrumental. He's
vision.
been
Oh
instrumental.
yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely, a crucial piece of this, helping bring our vision to life, and the sessions and the thing that he just really went in depth and made this about who we are, what we wanted this brand to be, and helped us bring it to life. Man, thanks, B. We appreciate you. Check him out. Bigger Creative. He's doing his thing now, becoming more of a presence, right? Your brand, pushing your branding, and that it's big, right? It's
Yeah.
scary. It's big. It's oh my God, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man. Just being in that moment right now. Like I say to myself many times a day, or I try to. I love where I'm at, and I can't wait to see where I'm going. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Gives you perspective when you think about where we started out with this thing.
Yes.
And it's a little over a year now. And to see the growth that we're having, the connections that we're making, the guests, the amazing guests that we've had on, especially the last season, man. It, it it's been one hell of a ride. One hell of a ride.
Master classes, right? We've had payroll
Yeah.
math. I know that's a branded thing, but everybody knows what that means.
Yeah.
Master classes, I'm not trying to take that from them at all. We're not doing it. Guru level is how I say it
Yes.
now. Guru level education from payroll powerhouses, man, just
Yeah.
experts. And I honestly, I feel like I'm cheating sometimes. You know what I mean? Because I I get to have access to these people that have
Yeah.
such knowledge. I'm just like, what?
It's
You
building
know,
community. It's really
it's
building community.
yeah.
And think about that. Years ago, I don't really know if it was on either of our minds to to reach out to as many people as we've done. This has
Not at all.
forced us, doing the podcast has forced us to make those connections, to
Yep.
find out other people's origin stories, to find out what drives them to do payroll. Like
Yep.
it's been instrumental, right? Like I said, I keep using that word, but it's been pivotal for us because
Yep.
it allows us it gives us insight to what drives everybody else that's in this industry. And we found out that, man, a lot of us are alike.
I
Like
like. Yeah.
to your point, it takes a certain caliber of person to
Yeah.
do payroll, right?
I say certain. I like how Walt's like certain caliber of person. We're not getting snobbish. No, not
No,
us.
no,
Never.
I didn't mean it in
I
that.
know. I'm just busting your chops.
But like the people who do global payroll, or the people who are do payroll in the U.S. and it it really making those connections and getting their perspective and how they view things has really given us insight and like the way they've worded stuff in
Yeah.
some of the episodes. Just thank you for
I'm a
saying.
better professional for it. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
my work is directly impacted from the things that I've learned on this show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, I feel like I'm cheating. There's a cheat code. You know what I mean? Because I'm
The cheat
what?
code for everybody who listens, though.
Yes.
Right? Cheat code for everybody who
Yes,
listens.
sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Right.
Absolutely. You hit it on the nose, bro. You hit it on the nose for sure, man. Yeah, man. What else? What else? You got a quote here for us. Share this quote for us. What did it mean to you?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about exception pays. But before we get into that, got a little quote. We used to do this back in the day. We used to
Yeah,
always have a little quote in there.
a
So I
year
wanted
ago,
to, back in the day,
back in the day.
but be there for others, but never leave yourself behind. So for me, that quote is saying, yes, it's okay to put yourself out there, to lend a helping hand, to put the work in to help other people succeed or to give them guidance or whatever. But you can't forget about yourself. It's about, for me, it's about finding that happy medium, finding that balance in your life, whether that's work, professionally or personally. You have to have that balance in your life. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself
Yep.
being burnt out.
Yep. Oh
Right.
yeah.
So that's
Oh
what that means.
gosh. Yes.
That's what that means for me. Is not
Okay.
to not forget about yourself.
Definitely.
Sometimes
Yes.
you said it in a couple of episodes ago that selfish
Hmm.
versus selfless
Selfless. Yeah.
thing. And sometimes you can be so selfless that you forget
Yep.
about taking care of yourself. And
Gotta be selfish sometimes.
yeah, and you
Yeah.
need that balance where you need to like it's know that it's okay to say, know that it's okay for you
Yep.
to take a break, for you to take PTO,
That's
for you
right.
to have that time to yourself.
Yep.
And otherwise you can find yourself being burnt out, man. That's what it means to me. Yeah.
No doubt. It made it just made me think of another one immediately. I don't know why. I have no
Yeah.
idea why. I read it and immediately thought of another quote that I heard from you're like 50 Cent. I heard 50 Cent say it somewhere on
Curtis
online.
Jackson.
Yeah, Curtis Jackson. I feel like it was him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, maybe Charlemagne. So Charlemagne the God or 50 Cent said, yes, dream, right? Yes, it's good to dream. Before we get to our dreams, we have to deal with our reality.
Mm-hmm.
Something, right? And,
Mm-hmm.
and that, yeah, again, I don't know why, but,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess that it can be connected, you know what I mean? But it
A
just
little
made
bit.
me think of that. Yeah, yeah.
A
It's
little bit.
just,
So that's the way I see that connecting for me is I hear you say that and it makes me think about being prepared, having that preparation done, right?
hmm
Before, so like you prepare yourself for the help that you're going to pour out.
hmm
Like that's saying you can't pour from an empty cup. So
Amen.
if you know that you have enough in you that you're to the brim, and okay, I'm watching, so I make sure I don't pour too much out of myself. I don't overextend myself. I don't put too much on myself, and I still have enough in my cup to give myself, my family, my loved ones,
Yep.
whoever, right? So that's how I can see that it tying in. Just be prepared, man.
No doubt. No
That
doubt.
Lion King song with Scar.
What's that? What'd you say with Lion with a scar?
Lion King's song. Be prepared.
Ooh, oh, see, whoa, wait, whoa, low key, you got a voice, bro? Be singing? You be singing?
I be singing, yeah.
Oh, we have to get the album, man. What are we doing
Nah,
over here? We got to
nah.
record the album.
I have a little SoundCloud, and
What are we
you know
doing?
it's not that good, but hey, it's okay.
No, that's not true at all. You make great music. Yeah, but all the stuff I've heard you rap, you know what I mean? Like spoken word type of
Spoken
deal.
word, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I got some,
You
I
haven't
got some
dropped
poetry out. I
the
got some poetry out there, stuff, man. Yeah.
yeah. Check. I don't know what your SoundCloud is, but we'll go check Walt on SoundCloud too. He's an
Oh
artist
my
at the
gosh.
end of the day.
Oh my gosh. Nice little plug for me. All right, let's get into it, man.
Let's get into it. We're talking about um,
Exception day.
exception payments.
Yes.
What are exception payments, guys? An exception payment is it's either a payment, any other payment other than base salary, right?
Mhm.
Regular hours, because folks don't realize like there's a few codes that go in the regular bucket.
Yep.
PTO, regular, straight time overtime, right? Like it's these meaning these are regular working hours, and if it's just normal base of pay, it impacts your normal day to day. And then there's exception payments like a bonus or commission. Okay, so we'll come back to that. Then the other type of exception payment is an exception process, an off cycle.
Yes.
An off cycle. We know what that means, but it's an exception. If you think about it, off cycle is an exception you've made, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those are the two things that we'll cover today. An exception payment, any payment outside the process that occurs outside of your normal payroll processing period or outside of normal established regular coding,
Mm-hmm.
right? Your regular hours. And before we get into it, I'm prepping for this and I I, I wanted to talk about workflow and process. Do you know the
I,
difference?
I love that this came to your mind because I think that people could associate both being the same thing,
Hmm.
right? Now, the workflow may have a process behind it, but they could be two different things, right?
Yeah, yeah. So the way it helped me understand, and again, I'm just focused on, I'm a stickler for words. I drive Walt crazy with it, and it's annoying sometimes, but gets us to a better place of communication, of being on the same page, understanding. And I'm like, well, and I stopped myself and I said, well, process, workflow, what? I was like, wait a minute, what's the difference? So
Mm-hmm.
I dug in. And the way that there's a bunch of things we can cover here, but the nugget that I'll leave you with to that help me understand the difference is that process can be a very long drawn out thing. Well, let me go to the videotape here. Process refers to a series of interrelated activities, tasks, or steps that are designed to achieve a specific goal or produce a particular outcome. Okay. It can involve a systematic approach. It can involve different departments. It could be a big thing, right? As far as our work is
Mm-hmm.
considered, we talk about SOPs, standard operating procedures,
Yeah.
processes, right? Workflow, on the other hand, represents a specific sequence of tasks, actions, or steps required to complete a single activity or part of a larger process.
Mm-hmm.
Workflows are more focused and detailed, dealing with the operational aspects of getting work done efficiently within a defined set of rules or guidelines. I love that articulation, that explanation, right? Process could be a big thing. And if you go further into it, it says like process can have a manual step here and then it goes to
Mm-hmm.
that person and maybe that person's step is automatic and automated and then it goes back, so it's a big vast puzzle, or this assembly line of things, whereas a workflow is within that process. It's something very finite, very defined. And then how do we process exception payments is the bigger thing, but like how do we deliver the direct deposit within that is the workflow, right?
Yeah.
It's a part of that process. Sending direct deposit in that process, it is the workflow in that process.
Mm-hmm.
Oof. All right, folks.
No, it's good. It's good. I don't know if you want to go through the rest of it. I know you have it highlighted and stuff.
Yep. No, I only went through what I want to cover. If something hits you, go ahead, straight talk about it
There's two sentences down there
that
for
you like.
one that I like.
Go
So
for it.
when it comes to the process aspect of it, it says processes are generally more rigid and standardized, and workflows are more flexible and adaptive.
Hmm,
Just wanted to put that out there, so that may be
I like
a
that too.
difference. It says workflows, since they are specific to a single task or activity, modifications to workflows can be made relatively easily to accommodate. So to me, what
Mm,
that says, if we have a standard set process for something, we're not just going to go and just change it all willy nilly like that system in a whole, right? So if we have to go in and say, hey, we're going to adjust the check date because these people want to get paid on Thursday for no other rhyme or reason. Just oh, can we get paid Thursday? And we go in and change that. I'm just using that.
correct. That's a good one. There you go. No, you nailed the good one right there. I was waiting for you to. to grab a good one. It the process is the check date, right? We have a payroll process that it dictates a check date. Can't change that process. Or you can rather, because duh, we just did. We just went through payroll transformation that
Yeah,
did. But that process is it was a much bigger conversation, much bigger approval needed, and it has to. You can't do it in a silo. You can't do it autonomously, right? You have to work in a big, right? But how you deliver that direct deposit is a workflow within it that you control, that you
yes,
could actually change, and you don't even need to
yes,
really. You don't need everybody's approval, right?
yep,
It almost can happen in a silo,
yep,
and because at the end of the day, people just want to see their direct deposit. How we get it there, the tech gymnastics that we do to get it there is on us. That's the
yep,
workflow that you can
yep.
change and evolve. Yeah, I like that. I like that.
So that, I just wanted to point that out and mention that the differences between the two, the process and the workflow. That
Yes.
yeah, we can easily do something with the workflow,
Right.
more easily do something with the workflow than the
Then the
because
process.
yeah, the process might impact the whole population of the company versus the workflow and just impacting a handful of employees.
Yep. Agreed.
So, all right, so let's get back into it, man. That's a great. Thank you for those notes.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for entertaining me, everybody. Mm.
So we're on exception pay types.
Yes. Why are we talking about exceptions? Why are they problems? Right. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about y'all, but I can tell you the problems that it's posed for us, for me. I know a lot of us's too. Like we at this point, me and Walt have worked together so much. How these things help me think about and understand it. Why are we thinking about an exception? Because just like in a computer system or an operating system, an exception is much like an error that can help it crash. Like an exception is an error in this an operating and coding. Well, why I got an exception? That can crash your operating system. That can crash your computer. Same thing with payroll, right? Too many exceptions, one exception, it can lead to a payroll failure because if you miss the payment, that's a payroll fail, right? Come
Mm-hmm.
check
Yep.
date, if you didn't get that exception payment in there, right? That's a failure. So now, what's an exception pay? Well, tell us what are some of those exception payments that we talk about here? What's an exception payment to you?
Okay. Like you were saying, it's might be an off cycle if something was missed. That is exception pay process.
Right.
The actual codes that may go into that. You may have those bonuses, those commissions, retro pay that you may do in those off cycles. You may do them in the batch, right? It's those
Mm-hmm.
things that normally wouldn't occur without
Right.
outside influence,
Influence.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Outside influence. So it's
Yep.
just those are the things. So it could be any code could
Yeah.
be an
Yeah.
exception pay.
Yep.
Any pay code could be an exception pay. It just
Yep.
depends on when you do it, how you do it, and everything. And if it
And I
wasn't a normal process, part of the
and the
process.
thank you. And then the opposite of that, folks, like to because that may be very normal, right? We may have just explained your normal day,
Yep.
but there are companies who are very plain vanilla, right? Meaning
Yes.
it's a small boutique firm. I think of New York when I think of these things, big cities and these firms, and maybe Miami
Yeah.
now somewhere, whatever. And it's a small firm, and it's 10 salaried employees. That payroll person or that's a smooth payroll, man. 10 salaried employees, and they don't, and let's say they don't get bonuses, they don't get commissions. It's a salary, they pay it times 24 or whatever, times 26, divided by rather, and that is it. They set it and forget it. They very rarely, if at all, get any exception payments. They just get their
Mhm.
salary, and it's very plain vanilla. There's zero impact. There's zero influence from from hours. Blah, blah, blah. See what I'm saying? That's the other extreme of it. I've never been in that. I've only heard of it. It's a unicorn in my mind, but for us, for most of us, exception pays are very much a reality. It's daily. It's every day. It's every single day. We have these issues that we got to deal with, and these one-offs that people are sending us. Hey, you got to pay this and you got to pay that and you got to pay this and you got to pay that. And that's it. You know what I mean?
Mm. Yep. Yep. I totally agree with you, man. That's stuff that we have to consider. And I like the other part where he says, why do exception pays pose problems to payroll, right? Because you were saying it come from different areas, different sources, and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So now stuff that we've dealt with in our careers, somebody can send you an email, hey, pay this person this bonus. And speaking of workflow, it could be outside in this established workflow.
Outside the established
They
workflow,
send you a
outside the
text.
process, yo.
They send you a text like, hey, uh, this is what I need to pay. Could you pay that? Could you pay so and so this bonus or pay so and so this many hours? Could you add this to the batch?
Yep.
And there's no approval. There's lack of process. You have something in here that you wrote: practice versus policy.
That's a good one. And
What did
thanks
you
for
mean
that.
by
Yep.
that?
It practice versus policy. Not wrapping a process, an SOP around your exception pays. Because we just talked about it the other day in a meeting. Folks, hey guys, we need you to do this. Don't worry, it's only going to be this one time. It's never going to happen again. It's never going to be past 2 times. Don't worry, blah, blah. Then what happens? It blows up and it's a every all the time occurrence now. And it's now you have to build a process, right? Where all you had before was a practice.
Mm-hmm.
A practice is not necessarily documented. You just do it. It's like that what is it? That untold or unofficial the unwritten rules or unofficial type things or whatever. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? So that's what I meant by practice versus policy,
Yes. Yes.
because things are high volume and it's recurring regularly. You need a policy around it. You have to wrap a
Yes.
policy around these
Yes.
exception pays. Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I meant.
For me, if you don't have the proper code set up, and you have different types of bonuses, different types of payments that you should use, and you just put it into this one bucket, it'll be harder to differentiate between, hey, was this a annual bonus or was this a sign-on type of situation? What is the difference? And so for reporting, it just wouldn't impact payroll, right?
Mm-mm.
But the person, even if the person got paid what they were supposed to get paid, but that coding could have downstream impact for
Absolutely.
your accounting teams, your finance teams,
Yes.
and they're reaching out to you. Hey, could you give me some backup and say like and break it down for me how these bonuses should be coded, how these payments should be coded, or
Yep.
whatever. Well, your team is using the wrong code as a payroll professional
Oh
instead
my
of
gosh. Yep.
so you have a retro code, but they're coding it to something else. And same thing for the deductions, right? If you have to do an adjustment, because it also works, and not it's an exception might be an adjustment for the deduction too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you use the wrong code for your deduction while you're refunding or doing a double charge because they didn't have the right setup and you have to charge them again the double amount for the next check,
Yep.
and you don't use the right code, that can throw stuff off too.
Yep. And I'm changing as you speak. I'm changing it to exception transactions.
Yes.
Right. Because you're right. It's not just, oh, up here too. Yeah. It's not just an exception payment. It's an exception transaction. Something
Yep.
outside the norm. These one-off requests that come from all the things that Walt just said. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that again, you think that okay, no problem. I'll just do it via email when they send it. And no, now you need a process. And now your customers will be mad that you don't have one. And if something happens, what? You don't have the how come we've been doing this for years? And it's like,
Yeah.
what? Wow, I've been doing this as a favor and blah blah blah. So as a payroll pro, you have to like that's how it can lead to a crash. That's how it can lead to a failure. You have to be able to get proactive, have build these little rules in for yourself. Like, all right, if it's really a one-off, get good at asking questions when folks initially make the request with you. Hey, can you do this? Then and I tease it out, right? You caught it the other day in the meeting. I was like, yeah, but do it's like the vision thing. Is it one or is it two? Are you gonna do this or are you gonna do that?
Yes.
And then, oh, I'm gonna do that. Ah, okay. So then wait a minute. Are you gonna do this or are you gonna do that? And then you get
Yeah.
to a point is okay, so this is gonna happen more often than not. Thanks,
Yeah.
thanks very much. Then it goes from they were like, wow, wait, I didn't think so. Oh crap, yeah, he's right. It is gonna happen a lot. So we need we need a sustainable solution. We need a process,
Yes.
right? We need an
Yes.
established process and the workflows in there too. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes.
I
So
always, yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I always thought about workflow for, and it's not true. Like it could be, but it's not definitive of it. I always thought workflow included approvals. So I used to
Mm,
use, that's how, up until yesterday, that's how I used the workflow with approvals like in it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, no, it could be,
good.
but that's not
Absolutely
how
good.
you define work. Clearly, not how you
Yes.
define workflow. So anywho, go ahead, man. Sorry about that.
So I think the little soliloquy that you gave, that is a perfect segue into the solutions
Ah,
for workflow and process. So number one, we don't have it here, but you need to define and or create workflows and
yeah, yes,
processes, right?
yes,
In regards to the workflow, determine who is authorized to submit, approve, and or process request. Do you want to like you
yes. Thank
know?
you. It's and again, why is that important? It's important because it's important because you want to define those different buckets separately because they could overlap. If you're building logic in this, an approver could also be a requester. A requester and approver could also be in the batch.
Yeah.
Do you allow a requester or approver to approve a request themselves? Mm, mm, I don't know. You have to think those things out. So that's why
Mm-hmm.
we call it out so specifically. You
Yep.
have to think about that and where the conflicts may arise. And then then what? If this requester requests themselves, then what?
Yep.
Ah, so when you build the
Perfect.
systems, and hopefully this system is not, you want a lot of stop gaps in this system or this
Mm-hmm.
process because it's going to go to payroll eventually, right? It's going to end in
Yep.
payroll. So you don't want to get it to payroll approved and it shouldn't be.
Yep.
Because what payroll we process pre-approved transactions. So
Yep.
if it comes to us approved, ding ding ding, we're going to process it.
Yep.
So you have to be careful about that. Again, that's why we like to call out those buckets and define them, and that's a great example of how the logic needs to be handled.
Yes, sir. And adding to that, there's another note we have here. Determine if there is a minimum or max dollar amount that can be processed. So when I put this, like you need to determine because there are some companies that have salespeople and they're paid on a commission. Real estate, you might do real estate payroll. You might have some people who get commissions based on their sales or whatever. You could just be in a business that just pays a lot of bonuses, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
these exception payments, right? So you need to determine if there's a minimum amount that can be processed without certain approval, or if there's a maximum amount where you say, hey, I have to get another level
Yes.
of approval.
Yep.
Hey,
Yep.
is that amount, hey, if anything's over $1,000, it has to go up a tier
That
of
could.
approval.
Yep. Yep.
Or if it's below $1,000, it can come from this level of person
Exactly.
and be processed by payroll.
Eh,
So I
Yep.
think for me, I think it's important to establish that
Yes.
because
Yeah.
like or
It's a
some companies,
workflow
yeah,
within the process.
yeah. But some companies will be like, hey, no matter what the amount is, it has to go to this level no matter what.
Absolutely. Every transaction.
Yeah.
It's gonna be size. It's gonna be the style of leadership, the rules of that company, the policies, the SOPs and procedure in that company. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You establish the threshold. If you don't have it already, right, it could be happening as a practice right now, and
Mm-hmm.
people don't realize it. And then when you want to document and work and create the process. But oh no, send that. Oh no, they can send it. Oh really? What if it's this amount? Oh no, that amount I need to see. Ah, so then there is a threshold. There, you know what I mean? There's a limit to what your people can do without your approval. You know what I mean? So when you start
Yeah,
talking those things out with folks, then they start to realize, oh wow, yeah, we do need this, right? Because it's a practice that they do, but they may not have it written down and formalized, so you never think about it, right?
absolutely, bro.
The other one is we have here is speaking of writing down and documenting it, is create like a library of earn codes, right?
Earn our deduction. Earn our
Earn or
deduction.
deduction. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Or
Mhm.
tax, because we're,
Our
we're talking
tax.
transaction. We're talking
Yes.
transaction. And
Yes.
guess what? This is a great example because if somebody requested some type of exception with their taxes, huge red flag.
Hmm.
Huge red flag. You should not be adjusting anything with the FICA unless you're voiding a check, right? Unless you're doing that's a can't like a standard type of thing. What's up? What are you gonna say?
There might be one-off cases where a person may, depending on their status, their employment status with the company or in the country, right?
Fair.
But still
Even
to your
that.
point, but still to your point, that needs to be verified. There's documentation that needs to be done or provided by that employee for you to be able to do that. Like you just can't take somebody's word for it and be like, hey, because people can work remote all the time. I could be a US citizen and be in Italy chilling, working for my company remotely or whatever. And I can tell you, oh, because I'm in Italy, I don't have to pay this or that. Now I don't know the rules or the laws or stuff like that behind that, but there's a lot of remote workers out there who are still US citizens or whatever. And versus somebody who's here on a work visa,
Yep.
they might qualify to be exempt from certain taxes,
Yeah.
certain
Yeah.
withholdings,
Yeah.
right?
And yeah, right. Let me even clarify more. If you're not going to void a check and you're just trying to turn around the last FICA that you took from somebody and refund that to them, red flag. Red, it's not easy.
It's, it's it is possible. What
Oh
Brian
yeah,
is
no, it's
saying
possible. Of
is
course. It's
not.
all
He's not
possible.
saying that it's not impossible, but there are processes and a workflow that you may
Yeah.
have to go through to
Yep.
in order to accomplish
Yeah.
that goal, right?
Yeah.
So you might there's like with the current system that we use now, when you go try to do that, you have to make sure you select the right jurisdiction date.
Mm. You
If
see.
I'm trying to refund something back for first quarter, I have to use a date
Yep.
for that the beginning of that first quarter, January 1. I have to use that date, even though we're in third quarter now. I have to make sure that I use that date from quarter one if I'm trying to
Yep.
refund something for quarter one. So the payroll provider or the payroll service could do the amendment so they can refile and do the stuff because they're going to have to adjust that from the first quarter because you're taking information from that first quarter and you're changing it now in the
Mhm.
third quarter that you're in. So it is possible. I just wanted to put that out there. It is. Brian wasn't
Yeah.
saying it's not
No
possible.
libraries of codes, right? Okay, because
Yes.
we can go down that rabbit hole for a long time. You want to create and establish a library of codes that are going to be used because not every code is going to be even applicable for this process and SOP. You know what I mean? So you
Yes.
want to pre-establish that. Yeah.
The next step: determine if your current payroll software or can provide a solution or if a third-party provider is required.
Yes.
Or you need to find out, you need to find a better way to do it internally, right? If your
Yep.
payroll solution doesn't work and you don't want to spend money on a third party, this is again goes into creating that workflow internally, creating those processes internally that allow you to do this efficiently,
Yep.
right? To do it, to do the thing that's best for the company. Because sometimes if you don't have an established workflow or process and you just lean on your payroll team to do it, and there's not anything, there's no rhyme or reason behind it.
You're
It can
not
get
gonna have. Yeah.
really murky and muddy.
Yes. Yes. No accountability.
Yes.
No documentation.
Mm-hmm.
So you want those two things. No report, right? And the documentation comes reportability. even if it's raw. Like you can get some reporting out of, you can get some, you want to pull data out of everything you do. So that's, again, apply the 5 pillars of payroll, and you'll be able to, okay, yes, cool, gosh, this is lacking. This is lacking. And if you're lacking in any one pillar, you want to fill that gap for sure. If you already have a current workflow, examine it to be sure that it's still the best solution for your company. You always
And
want to reevaluate these things. Yeah.
that's going to be an ongoing process, right?
There you go. Yep. But
Because
that's the key to it.
as your company grows and changes,
Mm-hmm.
the way you do things now
Mm-hmm.
may grow and change
Yep.
as well,
Yep.
right? So the things that you're doing today may not be or what's best for your team, your payroll team, or the company
Mm-hmm.
in a year or two, in 5 years.
I want to tell my ham story, right? I didn't create it, but I love it, and it helps me. I gotta tell the story with PC. Anywho, we're a family. Parents is making a holiday ham in the kitchen, and the child is present. And as they preparing this holiday ham, they cut the corners of it. They cut the ends off this ham, cut it a little bit, cut a little bit, put it in the baking pan, and they go prepare this holiday ham. And the child says, well, parent, why did you cut the edges off your ham? Oh, I don't know. That's what grandma did, and that's how I just cut the edges. Grandma's in the next room. Child runs to the grandparent and says, hey, my dad over here is cutting the edges off the ham. How come you do that? The grandparent says, well, I don't know why your dad does it, but I did it because my pan was small, and the holiday ham was always too big. I had to cut the edges off to fit in my pan.
Yeah.
Right? Doing things because we don't know. We're not refreshing the why. We're not refreshing the why.
Yeah.
It's
Perfect.
just that's it. You got
Yeah.
to refresh that. Why are you doing this? And it's not a, people get so offended, right? Go, what's up? What's up?
No. You're right, because our current leader, right, our department head, one thing that kind of irks her a little bit is the phrase, the statement, "Oh, well, we've always done
We've
it that
always
way."
done it that way. Absolutely.
Well, we've always
Absolutely.
done it that way.
Yeah.
And so
I
when
think
you think about
every
that,
leader, that's every leader's nightmare. You walk into a place and you hear that. Oh my gosh. I walked in
okay.
at our common grounds, right? We walked in and that you hear it. You hear, sometimes you have to say it, like in those defenses, like I've said it even to our current boss, and I didn't say it like we needed to keep it that way. I was just matter of facting it. Oh, she got bad. I'm like, well, God, I'm like, golly, I didn't mean it like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
she was right. She's right. That's not what you want to hear. You want refresh the why.
not a good
Got to
answer.
refresh the why. And then last but not least, if you do not have a workflow or process and all you have is a practice,
Mm-hmm.
then you must document and create a formality, create the documentation,
Yep.
create the SOP meaning standard operating procedures. And now I messed my brain up because now I'm like, it does procedure mean process? And I got distracted and I was like, gonna go look it up while you were talking. I'm like, so I get so distracted sometimes with these things. But that's it, folks. That's the solve. If you don't have an exception policy, if you only have a practice, please formalize it, document it, go through the steps that we talked about. It is the best practice.
It is procedure, standard operating
Procedures. But does procedure mean the same thing as process?
Let's see. Look it up right now. I think it is a kind of the same thing. It says, in a nutshell, the key difference between a process and a procedure is this: a process is a series of tasks and activities that produce an outcome. A procedure is a set of instructions for completing a single task or activity within a process.
Okay.
So it
The
feels like,
process is the act. The procedure is how you do it.
yeah, and yes, yep.
Got it. Got it. Yay. We are learning all kind of shit today, folks. Holy crap.
So we got great. I think
Wait,
we got a couple of different things here. So today's word of advice for some payroll pro. Well, before I get there, do you have anything else you want to add about workflow and process? As far as anything with best practice for people.
no, just do it. Yeah, no, I don't. But I have a question. I have a favor.
Okay, sure.
My son was hovering over here. You mind if I bring they dying to get on camera? So
Yeah, come
let me
on.
let me hold on for a second.
That's good. So Brian's sharing his world, bringing his family over for you all. So you get to meet his kiddos. So yeah, let's bring them over.
They're always hovering and like
Yeah.
trying to accidentally on purpose be on camera. So my son
Yeah.
just did that earlier. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? It's just out of
I saw
here.
you were like,
Like what? Come say hi, guys. Like
yo,
always, like,
what's
oh,
up?
why are your lips white?
Okay, we can't see them a little. They're coming a
Okay,
little bit.
come in more. Come in
Hey,
more.
Dante.
Can you hear them? Can you hear them at all?
No,
You
I
got to
can't.
speak into the. I don't know why
Hey,
her lips are white, folks. What did you doing? Oh my gosh. Say hi in the micro.
yeah,
This is
man.
Monroe. I don't
Monroe.
know why her lips are white. Oh my gosh. This is Dante. Oh, clearly I'm gonna have to because Charlie is. This is my son Dante.
Your twin, your
My twin.
doppelganger.
Yeah, my dog. He said Walt said my twin. All right, can we get Charlie up here too? Jeez. Oh
Your
my
other kid,
God. Yeah, he's such a ham, bro. And he's so, can you see him? Oh, there's
Charlie.
Charlie. There's
Charlie,
Charlie.
my boy.
Oh, all right. All right, guys. Bye. Love you more. Nope. Bye, Charlie. All right.
All right, thank you for that, Brian. Giving people insight with your kids, your beautiful family, man. Thank you for sharing that, bro.
But no problem, bro. Like I said, oh, and it threw me off for 5 minutes because I'm like, it
I
just,
saw you. I
you
noticed.
saw me, right?
Yeah, I
Like,
noticed.
I'm like,
You don't have a good poker face, bro.
I
You was
know.
like,
I was just like, what are you doing? Because honestly, I'd just be better. Like, hey, can I get on here? Like, I'd rather they just bulldoze on here. Like, you want to be on camera? Just go. Yep. Oh, here you go. He's on camera now.
it's funny, man. I think for me, that provides an insight into you as a human,
Oh,
your family.
thanks.
I think people
Thanks.
will love it for those who are
Uh,
watching and listening. So yeah, man.
oh
So
my, that's my crew. Well, my oldest
yeah,
is not here, but I got an older one. Thank you, sir.
yeah.
And
So we're
and
gonna knock it out, man.
yeah,
Gonna
I'm
finish this
excited.
thing off with the last two. So do you want to take one and I take the other?
What's that?
Word of advice and the joke of the day.
So it's I don't know. You tell me which one you want me to do. I'll do it.
Okay, so I'll do the joke of.
The day
We can both talk about both.
we
How
can
about
both
that?
talk about it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So today's word of advice for payroll pros: create your own path. As more jobs become outsourced and AI's contribution to the workforce increases, it's important that we start molding our own future. Be proactive. We can write our future as a payroll professional. I used to think that it was so limited. It's not. Man, if it is so exciting right now. Look at us. We have created a new path for payroll professionals, right? You can be a content creator, the
Yeah.
Nick Days of the world, like Nick Day over there in UK, crushing it, doing
Killing
his
it.
thing, the Ian Giles of the world, the Anita Latinks of the world, the what was my boy,
Sylvia's.
man, Adrian,
uh,
just folks that are that Christina Hagney, Gerard, they all
Sylvia.
have Sylvia, they all have different payroll paths.
Yeah.
There's so many now, right? You can be an owner, you can be your own boss. Gosh, you can create your own path. And that's what Walt was trying to just really express here. You have the
Absolutely.
power to dictate. I love the last part. You have the power to dictate your career path.
Yes, you have the power. It's in your hands.
We've
AI,
changed it. Yep.
AI, and the way we do things is going to change. the way payroll's process is going to change.
Yep.
You have to change with the times.
Yeah.
You have to change with the times because either you get with it or you get left.
Yeah. You gotta stay growing, invest
Yeah.
in yourself, even if
Yeah.
it's little. But even in that, you gotta find a little way to show that you are staying on top of you're at least investing in yourself in some form. You're consuming some information, some growth education wise. If you want to stay a payroll professional, it's required to stay in
Yeah.
payroll, just to at least continue in education. You don't have to,
Yes.
you know what I mean?
Pillar one, right?
Yep.
Training and
Talent. That's
continued
right.
education,
Talent
training.
is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Talent is us, right?
Yes.
You got to keep, right? If you're a standalone payroll person, that talent, the number one pillar, you need to look at yourself.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And start with yourself. So tell us this payroll joke of the day.
Hey, I didn't write this
What?
joke, so
Man,
whatever.
I love it, man. It's keep it light, keep it fun. You know what I mean? It's my kids are always like, "You got good dad jokes." This reminds me of dad jokes.
Yes. Why was the payroll team always calm?
Why?
They had great patience. Oh God, that was so corny.
Patience.
Yeah, patience. Yeah. All right, folks. Thank you for another excellent show, Brian.
Oh
What you
man.
drop, man,
Thank
and
you, partner. Yeah, man.
we're excited
Likewise.
for what to come.
Yep.
And be on the lookout for new and exciting things coming from It's About Payroll. We're your hosts,
IAP.
Walt and Brian.
Yes, sir.
Next time.
Peace. Love you, folks.
Thank you for tuning in to It's About Payroll. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep going.